Right, CNBC obtaining a copy of the testimony that Fed Chair nominee Kevin Warsh will give tomorrow to the Senate. He will say this is a time of great consequence for the nation's economy. He says the most significant hinge point in a couple of generations and that economic growth potential in the U.S. is rising. All three of those things, a reference to Warsh's optimism about technology and what it may mean for the U.S. economy. He goes on to criticize the Fed for playing a larger role in the economy and society after the great financial crisis. He says the Fed extended its reach and stretched its hard-earned credibility. Monetary policy independence, the Fed nominee will say, is essential, but that independence is not threatened when elected officials state their views on interest rates, an apparent reference to the many comments that the president makes about Fed policy. Central bankers, he says, must be strong enough to listen to a diversity of views from elected officials. On Fed independence, he says it's largely up to the Fed. Low inflation is the Fed's armor to that independence, and inflation is a choice, and the Fed must take responsibility for it. Fed independence, he says, does not extend to all congressionally mandated functions. Fed officials, he says, are not entitled to the same deference in their stewardship of public monies or in bank regulatory supervisor policy in areas affecting international finance, among other matters. That is a reference to the lawsuit that, to the efforts by the Fed to quash a subpoena. He seems to be saying that the Fed should not have done so. The Fed must stay in its lane, he says, should not act as a general purpose agency. He has been publicly critical in the past of the Fed's, for example, efforts when it came to climate change. Fed independence is at risk, he says, when it strays into fiscal and social policy. Monetary policy independence, he said, is earned by steering clear of distractions. And one more thing, he says, I'm committed to ensuring that the conduct of monetary policy remains strictly independent. I am equally committed to working with the administration and Congress on non-monetary matters that are part of the Fed's remit. Frank?
Well, Steve, we got to get going, but very quickly, I want to go back to that one part you didn't really give a lot of explanation to, the part where he says basically low inflation gives the Fed independence. How did you view that? Is that a sense that he believes that, or you believe that he's going to come in with a hawkish or a dovish stance?
I don't think it necessarily means either. I think what he's talking about in that regard is if the Fed wants to be independent and stay out of the crosshairs of the politicians, get inflation right. And I think he begins from that standpoint because we shouldn't be arguing over this or that with the Fed. If the Fed gets inflation right, nobody's going to have much of an argument. It's something he said in the past before. He said previously in a lot of the stuff he's written, speeches he's gave, is that the Fed needs to get its dual mandate right from Congress, and independence will flow from that.